Thank you very much for keeping it KBC Channel 1. You are watching BizCheck now. In the second hour of our show, we'd like to talk about matters agriculture and achieving food security. And considering that land sizes are shrinking by the day because of population increase and other issues, the yield from farmers has been going down. And to improve yield as well as tackle the issues of climate change, technology transfer is very important. We just want to know how that is being done and what is being done to ensure that our farmers are getting maximum yield to feed the nation and beyond. To have this conversation is Kennedy Oyugi, who is an agricultural economist at Africa Harvest. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us here
Karibu sana.
To talk about matters agriculture.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Tell us what, first of all, Africa Harvest does.
Africa Harvest is an non-governmental organization which has its headquarters here in Nairobi, and it has been in operation for the last 22 years. Basically, our mission is to transfer improved technologies to the farmers to ensure that Africa is free from hunger, poverty, and malnutrition. So that we do by ensuring that we can work with the stakeholders, research institutions, farmers, and even government entities to be able to transfer transformative technologies from the research shelves to the farmers where it's needed.
I like that you mentioned the research shelves. Of course, Africa has been notorious at having a lot of research in paper, but implementation has been wanting. Yes. So how exactly do you do that?
So the first thing we do is to identify where there is a problem. For example, where the yields are not to the expected standards. Then we look at what the researchers have done. Let's say the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization products, ECRISAT products, and many others. Then see how can we then allow these technologies to go to the farmers by demonstrating them to where they are most needed, to identify the ones that are working best. For example, we have an approach called participatory farmer research, where we deploy these technologies to the community, and we try them, or we work with the community, trying different technologies that are available, so that at the end of the day, the community can, by itself, see what is it that is working best for them. So once they have seen by themselves on their farms, they are able to say, this is not just research, but something that we can actually do and get advantage out of it. So we do identify the appropriate technologies, try them practically with the farmers, and let the farmers choose what works best for them. And once we have done that, we are now able to also share the information with the other farmers. For example, mount training programs, because some of the people we are bringing on board are actually young. They have not been in agriculture before. So they may not understand how to do, for example, the right spacing. They may not understand how to best control the pests. They may not understand how to best do post-harvest handling. So we train them on the technologies that the community feel they are best for them. So with that understanding and linking them to the markets, that market gives that pool, because all these people want to gain some income. Once you can show them that if you use this technology this way, it can be able to give you a good income, then they are interested.
Right.
Yes.
So, of course, community mobilization is very important because 80% of Kenya's agriculture is handled by smallholder farmers. How do you ensure that you're meeting the needs of all those different farmers? Because even in a specific area, people are cropping different plants. They are probably planting a variety of plants. How do you make sure that you're meeting the needs of all those farmers at the same time?
All those farmers, as many as they are, they have needs that could be grouped together. For example, farmers at the coast may require varieties and crops or value chains that are different from those required by people in the Rift Valley. So basically, we have mapped out which value chains will do best in which geographies. And so what we do as Africa Harvest is to ensure that we have varieties that are tested even by KFIS and they are proved that these are the suitable varieties for this region. So we don't just move with the variety from one region to the other and maybe register very minimal yields. So what we do is to deliver to the people what research has proved that it can work in that particular sub-county or in that particular county. And again, even where it works, people even at household level may have different needs and even passion. There are people who could be passionate about crops. There are people who could be passionate about short cycle livestock like chicken. So we give them according to what they need. And like one of the projects that we are handling currently, we actually send out a form for the youth to feel what they want and where in the value chain they would like to participate. Other youth were interested in producing crops. There are others who are interested in just aggregating what other farmers have produced and selling. There are those who are keen on participating at value addition level. Yeah, so we first of all identify what each of our stakeholders need and is interested in. Then we capacity build them in that particular area. Yeah.
From what you've just mentioned, it said that the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 60 years. And of course, there's a lot that needs to be done to attract more young people. Yeah. But from what you're saying, it seems there is interest from young people, right?
There is, yes. There is interest, and sometimes a problem can be actually an opportunity in some cases. Like in the Kenyan case currently, many young people are not employed. And to earn income, they are willing to invest in agriculture, especially once it can be shown that it can be demonstrated beyond doubt that agriculture can pay them a dignified income. So they are willing to enter agriculture. Some challenged maybe by access to land, but that's how now we are availing opportunities like value addition. We are availing opportunities like aggregation and even market linkages. We are even introducing young farmers into digital technologies where they can be able to aggregate demand using digital platforms, such that they are at one point they can be able to establish that in this area around KBC, for example, we have this number of farmers who are willing to dispose this amount of crop. And then they can now use that information to get a buyer who can be able to take this kind of crop and earn a commission out of that, even if they don't have land, for example. So because that will not require land. Value addition, for example, we are working with the young people, especially young women, to do value addition in the crops like sorghum, where they can be able to generate or to produce sorghum cakes. And by the way, they are very nice for those of us who have tasted them. Okay. And so that may not require that that particular young person has land. Just a small oven plus where I can place it is sufficient to put this person into income generating activities. And as he or she earns from value addition, it pulls other people into producing the raw materials that will be used for that value addition. Yes. We
shall delve into the value addition bit in just a little bit, but let's talk about the farmers on the ground. Even as you help them adopt these technologies, we know that a big challenge that farmers have had is the lack of extension services or limited extension services. Yes. What has been your experience in terms of ensuring that these services get to them?
That's true, actually, and it's not like a problem that farmers have created. Right. I think it's a resource constraint at national level and even at county levels. So what we have decided is to use community members, train them to become, if you like, mini extension officers. From within the community, we identify people who are trainable with a certain level of education. We train them and make them trainers of these farmers. So currently Africa Harvest has like over 600 spread across over 10 counties, where we have trained them in the whole spectrum from agronomy to value addition to market linkages to negotiation skills, to be able now to cascade that information, that knowledge, the skills to the last mile areas, I can say the last person along the value chain. So they can be able to reach farmers and bridge that gap. And again, we're not doing this in isolation. We work with the available government extension officers, because you realize that some of them are quite informed, quite knowledgeable, but they are fewer, so they can't reach everybody. So we bring them to train with us, these trainers at community level, so that now we can be able to release or send them to the community to train other people. Yes.
So even as you work with the extension officers from the governments, the county government and the national government, with the GDP contribution that agriculture has towards this country,
yes,
isn't more supposed to be done to support these farmers who are producing what we are eating and what we are exporting?
Actually, a lot needs to be done, because all studies, all research say that agriculture has the highest potential to provide jobs and also to even spur industrial development, because industries require raw materials. For a case, an economy which is dependent on agriculture as opposed to, say, minerals, agriculture will play very significant role in spurring other components of our economy. So a lot needs to be done. And one thing that needs to be done is that availing extension beyond where we are now, beyond where the situation is. Secondly, is to working with other stakeholders, national and international, to get the right technologies to the farmers. The right technologies here covering seeds or breeds for the case of livestock, and even machinery that can be able to reduce drudgery and be able to deliver the job within a short period. Yes.
So as the land size is shrinking, Kenya probably looks at commercializing agriculture.
Yes.
So how do you achieve that commercialization, yet the land size is shrinking?
We may want to intensify what we get from a certain unit of land, because traditionally people will move around and clear more bushes and plant more crops. But that's not an option that we have right now. So that's why we need to do appropriate technology combination to make sure that we enhance our productivity, which is one also of the Africa Harvest thematic areas, so that from that acre, we can now get more. If we are getting 5 bags of sorghum, we can now get 10 from the same acre, because we are not, we don't have any ability to increase the size of earth that we know it. So the land is still limited, and it will continue getting limited, especially in terms of what is available for agriculture. Yeah, because we have to share that space with the buildings, we have to share that space with other infrastructure. Yes.
And how do we ensure that we are maximizing yield in a sustainable way? Because we know that we have an issue with soil acidity in Kenya. And of course, a lot of organizations have been, and the government as well has been proactive in coming up with interventions towards this. So how do we ensure sustainable agriculture?
There are proven technologies towards that. For example, there are very well-known soil and water management practices, including minimal tillage, where we don't have to plow a whole square meter, yet your crop only needs maybe less than 0.5 square foot to grow. So you are disturbing this other part of the land unnecessarily. So those are some of the things that we say can be able to enhance productivity without needing to expand the land. There are also issues to do with the integrated pest management. You don't have to overspray you look at what can we combine with what biological practices to make sure that you can be able to get what the yields that we expect without sort of exacerbating the already bad situation in terms of land fragmentation, environmental degradation. So the soil and water conservation measures, others including even like mulching. Mulching will serve you in two different ways. It will conserve the water that is there, and also add organic matter to the soil. So this can even be done to amend soils that are already degraded. Yes. Agroforestry, for example, ensuring that we can be able to plant trees which can coexist with the crops, for example. There are some trees which can also be which can serve as fodder for livestock. So that way we are able to intensify, but at the same time pursue our sustainable development goals.
And of course, you've mentioned a whole lot of solutions that are available. Are farmers using them?
Yes and no. There are those who are using, who are already enlightened around those technologies, and they're using and reaping benefits. But there are those who are still in need of awareness and capacity building to be able to move. And what we have said with farmers, that once you can demonstrate that this works and it helps you achieve your objectives in a better, a more cost-effective way, then they are willing to adopt.
Right.
Yes.
Speaking of matters organic, there is 800 organic. There is 800,000 I think metric tons demand of fertilizer in Kenya. But we are only producing around 50. And there's a deficit there. We are using chemical fertilizer, and organic fertilizer producers are saying, we are here, we are here to provide organic fertilizer to make our soils healthier. What are your thoughts in terms of that overuse of chemicals on the soils?
Overuse of chemicals or any other input for that matter is not something that I will encourage. And for the record, I'm an agricultural economist who like to ensure that we get the most out of what you have. So overuse will not be the right thing to be done. But again, farmers are keen on improving from where they are today, getting more from that land. And that's why sometimes they are driven into overuse of chemicals. So if you train them to use chemical in a more sustainable way, because there are times when we have to use the chemicals, maybe to fight a disease or a pest that is too stubborn for our organic approaches. Of course, we pray that such kind of disastrous occurrences are fewer. But for example, if you look at what we had with the fall armyworm, it was a very devastating pest at its highest point of destruction. So in such cases, we may need to use chemicals. But in areas where we can be able to use what I called integrated pest management, where sometimes you don't have to spray. You can even pick when they are fewer, and that ends that problem. So that also calls for farmers to be vigilant. Can you inspect your farm, for example, to see when the pest, is it just one, maybe it has not even multiplied, where you squeeze it and it's done. Or maybe you apply even some ash and it's done. But once the population has become too much, then you'll have to go. That's when now maybe we need the chemicals. So integrated pest management would be a good thing, where we're combining not just chemicals, but chemicals are being used as the last option. Yes.
All right. And of course, this knowledge has to be transferred to the farmers, right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts in terms of how knowledgeable farmers are of the modern technology that is available for them?
Again, that's a gap that we have as a country. Because even the people we are working with, we went sometimes into community hoping that, Kenya has been in agriculture for many decades or many years, so people are all knowledgeable. But we realize that some people are starting farming for the first time. So I would say that people are still not aware of, most people are still not aware of what to be done at the right time. And this also can be attributed to what you said about the lack of extension services. For a very long time, Kenya has been having a very bad ratio in terms of farmer extension. And that has created that gap where some farmers are not well aware of what needs to be done. Not that they are not willing to do, but they are not well aware. So we just need to work together, mount programs, even working with the people like KBC to share some of the information that can guide farmers on what to do. Because again, we don't want farmers to be left alone in the social media space where everybody has become an expert, and some of them actually mislead farmers. So we are continuing to work with farmers. As I mentioned, we have over 600 people on the ground trying to educate these people, the farmers. So we hope that as we pull together, we are going to be able to give farmers adequate information. We're not turning them into experts, but at least adequate information to help them do a good job in agriculture. Yeah.
Now let's delve into what we had touched on matters value addition.
Yes.
Value addition in the agriculture sector is said to be the game changer, you know, in opening up jobs and just growing agriculture as a whole in this economy. What can be done to ensure that more people are taking up value addition and also to surmount the challenge of the capital required, you know, to go into value addition in the agriculture sector?
Okay. Again, allow me to first of all start by talking a little bit about what is value addition.
Right.
Because in most cases, you realize that people are confusing processing with value addition. Value addition takes on many forms. Even just grading your crop or your produce is a form of value addition. I'm sure you are willing to pay more for a crop that is clean. So if you go to a market and find somebody has a consignment that's very clean, no chaff, no stones, you are willing to pay for that kind of effort that somebody has put in that. And that's value addition. Storage to ensure that you are not selling your crop at the peak of harvesting. It is value addition. People will be able to pay you more for having stored for them. Then there is this processing now, where we are transforming this produce from the form it was before to something different, to make it even more usable, to make it be able to stay longer on the shelves. That's again another form of value addition. So let me concentrate on the transformation bit, the processing bit. Yes, turning the produce into something maybe more valuable, maybe that can take longer on the shelves, requires resources. But luckily, we also have technologies that are now coming up, which are quite small scale. Like, for example, oven that may not need even electricity, maybe some bit of charcoal, for example, to be able to bake. We have cottage industries where processing doesn't have to take a whole acre or acres of land to put up very cumbersome, very complicated machinery. We may have even things like making butter, handheld equipment that even one person can be able to run, to operate actually. You can even carry it from one region to one house to the other without having to maybe seek the services of a specialized transporter. So there are these small-scale technologies that you can be able to use to do value addition in the form of processing this produce. Yes. So let's embrace those technologies, and because maybe they serve a certain village, you even don't have maybe to transport your products to very different areas. Some of them may not even require specialized packaging. For example, you go into the community and you realize there are juices which just have a simple label describing what's there, what was used, the mango, or so those are things that you can embrace, especially in a situation where supply of capital is limited. Yes.
That is what they call the cottage industry?
Yeah, that is cottage industry.
Yes.
And it is serving in this country in very various ways. People are making peanut butter, people are making juices, people are making cakes, for example, which is good. Already you can be able to do it. Yes.
And as players, of course, across the value chain are targeting the export market. There has been an issue that has been coming up in terms of meeting the standards that are required for the export market. A number of consignments from Kenya have been, nabbed or stopped from entering various export markets. So what can farmers do and people in the agriculture value chain do to ensure that they are meeting these standards that are required before their product is allowed into another market?
I'll tell you, each market has its own requirements, even the local ones.
Yes.
And so, to me, it's first of all to look at what are the market requirements for this particular segment of the market and evaluate, am I able to meet them in terms of the practical component? Do I have the resources? And then once you know you can meet it, is that market, export market that we all want to participate in, giving it a premium that will be able to cover my cost of production here and save something? So sometimes I've seen situations where people are interested in export markets, even when our local markets can serve them better without too much stress. And sometimes you look at the ability to meet those requirements are limited. So somebody will start and may not be able to complete. So you have already invested in, maybe suffered some expenses, but again, the commodity gets rejected. So to me, for those who can afford, I believe there are people to provide them with the necessary technical training. The best technical guidance, it's there.
Right.
Kenya, especially in matters of agriculture, we are well endowed in terms of expertise. So depending on the market, you can always get somebody to advise you. What I will advise farmers is not to see export market as the only market. Even when maybe it's just a quarter an acre. Of course, there are means to aggregate even these people who have a quarter or even an eighth of an acre to be able to participate in the export market. But the cost of aggregating this, sometimes if you look at what the export market is paying vis-a-vis the costs until that foreigner pays, sometimes too much. But I'll encourage people to have that segregation in mind. There's an export market, there are also local markets, even in national markets, there are regional markets maybe within East Africa. So it's a matter of choosing and weighing our abilities.
Right.
Like now we always talk about, and in fact that's where I started, about food insecurity issues in Kenya. Why are we exporting or agitating only for the export market when we're still talking about Kenya being food insecure, for example? Sometimes we export, then we import processed products of what we exported. So for me, before I even look at the export market, I really want to look at what can we do here as a country. Because again, when we're exporting as raw materials, we're exporting jobs. If it was processed here, then our people will get employed. But I'm not ruling out the export market.
Right.
Just let's do the maths.
Right, do the math. And in doing the math, sometimes as consumers, you go to the supermarket or the market and you're definitely looking at buying the cheapest product. And sometimes the products produced in Kenya cannot compete with what we've imported from our neighbors because of our high production cost. So what can be done to bring this cost down so that our products, locally made, locally produced, can be more competitive in the market?
There are a number of ways that can be achieved. And the very first one is to stretching our productivity such that per acre we can be able to get as much as possible. That will make our raw materials cheaper even here. Then the other thing is to ensure that if there are any forms of taxes, even on machinery that is used to manufacture these products, our government considers lowering taxes and sometimes even subsidizing acquisition of those machinery. Because the government should also not just look at if we subsidize, then we are going to lose revenue. What about the revenue that will come in terms of employment creation internally? So those are things that need to be looked at holistically, especially getting our materials as low as possible, as cheaply, more affordable as possible. Yeah, that's one way. And then just ensuring that we create efficiencies in our channels of distribution. We manage our post-harvest losses to ensure that we can be able to get even a profit without having to charge so expensively. Yes.
You are in charge, or rather you are policy advocacy expertise. In terms of policies governing the agriculture sector, what more can be done to support this industry, this very important industry?
The best to me is increasing funding for agriculture. Funding in terms of access to extension services, funding in terms of access to machinery, funding in terms of access to other inputs like fertilizer and fertilizer and seed, for example. And I think the government has been tackling one component about access to fertilizer, which to me I think is good. It just needs to be enhanced, and then these issues that I don't want to go into about the quality of fertilizer are addressed, then we'll be on the right track. The other one is about market, because market offers a pool for these investments. So ensuring that for export markets, we invest in advertising, opening up more channels for our commodities to go into other countries, and also internally making sure that we invest even in agricultural manufacturing. We saw the other day most of the counties starting business hubs, industrial hubs. Are they equipped? So we need to make sure that those hubs have, for example, adequate cold storage facilities such that we don't lose our produce, especially fresh produce, because sometimes you visit some of our markets and what you see is that somebody came with a crate of tomatoes, and now he's pulling that crate of tomatoes to throw it away because they are spoiled. But if markets had, for example, got good and affordable cold storage facilities, somebody can extend the shelf life of this produce and be able to sell it the following day. Because once you throw it, then you have lost. The country has lost. Yeah. So infrastructure, inputs, open markets, enhanced extension, that should help us.
Farmers have for long complained of the issue of middlemen, you know, making more than the ones who are producing. What can be done to... I don't think you can completely eliminate middlemen from the value chain, but what can be done to ensure that even as the players across the value chain are making money, the farmer is still getting well compensated?
One of the issues and which we're actually been working on as after harvest is enlightening farmers to know their cost of production. Sometimes these middlemen take advantage of farmers because the farmers are not aware whether to what extent they're being, for example, underpaid, because they don't even know how much it costs them to produce that unit. And so that's the starting point. Once you know that, you see, once you know that I use this much, then you are expecting something. You are negotiating with this person with some expectation. So sometimes you may be hesitant to take just any price. Secondly, it's about organizing the farmers. Middlemen take advantage of the, can I say, individualistic nature of our farmers. He or she threatens, if you don't sell to me, I'll buy to somebody else. But if you are organized, if it can't buy from this group, then there's nowhere else maybe is accessing this. So that way you are able to influence even the prices at which you sell your produce. So information about marketing, market prices, and it has to be reliable information about market prices, so that even you know also that, yes, here in Nairobi, this is the price. In the rural areas where my crop is, these are the prices. You do the maths around the transport costs and see whether you can be able to play in a different market. Then the cartels at the markets, that's again another big problem. Those ones, in my view, should just be eliminated. And the government is able to do that. Because there are people, you arrive with your commodity here in Nairobi, maybe you are from Nyeri or from somewhere else, and even getting where to place just your commodity to sell is difficult. And then there are people who threaten others. You cannot put your commodity here to sell without paying us for nothing, because they're offering no service there. So those are the cartels, those are actually criminals in my view, that should be just be eliminated from the market. Then in those markets, we should have, again, the storage facilities I talked about, affordable. If you have traveled from a different zone, because you realize the prices or demand in a different place is better, and you have landed there with your commodity, good quality. If you sell and you are not able to dispose the whole stock, do you have a place you can store your commodity? As things stand now, it's almost non-existent in most markets. So if you delivered a crop and you are not able to sell the whole of it, and maybe you used hired transport, the person who offered you transport is pressurizing you to find a way of getting your produce off his pickup or off his lorry. He wants to go back, and you have nowhere else. So somebody suffers big one-time loss that says you can never go back to that market again. So those are some of the things that we need to do to address the issue of middlemen. Of course, as you said, middlemen cannot be fully eliminated. And there are middlemen who come and buy. You agree on the price. Those ones are good. But these ones who hide at the market and give orders, those ones should be eliminated.
That's where the problem is.
Yes.
Right. So agriculture being a devolved function, and all these issues that are facing farmers, the post-harvest losses, extension services. What do you think is the role of the devolved units in ensuring that agriculture is solid in their different counties?
Again, the same thing that we will expect from any government, putting in place the right infrastructure. In fact, the devolution of agriculture helps counties to zero down on what is specific, what is of importance to their own people. So putting together like good markets that have the right post-harvest handling machinery or facilities is a good thing. Employing more extension officers as government is still a very important thing. Secondly, enhancing access to inputs like seed. There are some farmers who are stuck in their traditional varieties which are less productive because they cannot afford seed. So having programs where maybe a farmer can be able to access seed and pay after harvest, those will be able to enhance our agriculture. Because sometimes farmers are forced to go to sources of credit where you have borrowed today to buy seed, the next month you are supposed to repay that amount. So if you do not have any other source, you get scared of taking those kind of credits, say from self-help groups. So we need credit facilities that are tailor-made for agriculture, where this person can only repay after harvesting and selling, not something that will take today and the following week you're supposed to repay, yet the crop has not even germinated, for example. So if you had other sources of money, you will not have taken that has interest.
That is true.
Yeah.
Right. So as we come to a close of the conversation, I'd give you a minute or so to give us your closing remarks on this.
Okay. Thank you. Agriculture works. Agriculture is important for this country. We should invest in agriculture, in better technologies, especially the right varieties, the right seeds, and put in place policies that specifically shield farmers from risks. For example, the droughts, especially in view of the climate change issues, ensuring that our farmers, for example, can access crop and livestock insurance almost universally, and also ensuring that they can be able to access agriculture tailored credit, and to ensure that our markets are working. That, to me, will be a great thing. And this is now something that one entity will do. All of us as Kenyans need to come together with all friends of Kenya to work to enhance agriculture productivity in this country.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that and sharing your knowledge on agricultural matters.
Thank you.
Asante sana. I have been speaking with Kennedy Oyugi, who is an agricultural economist at Africa Harvest. We have talked about what Africa Harvest and other stakeholders are doing to ensure that farmers are supported to maximize the yield on their ever-shrinking land sizes. That is it for BizCheck this morning. Of course, at the top of the hour, Kurunzi Mashinani is coming up, and Kasichana Masha is already in studio to bring you that. My name is Betty Kiptum. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye-bye.